Hi guys, welcome to Kent Kim's AP English. Today we are going to read George Trevelyan, Life and Letters of Lord Macaulay. He who undertakes to publish the memoirs of a distinguished man may find a ready apology in the custom of the age. If we measure the effective demand for biography by the supply, the person commemorated need possess but a very moderate reputation, and have played no exceptional part in order to carry the reader through many hundred pages of anecdote, dissertation, and correspondence. To judge from the advertisements of our circulating libraries, the public curiosity is keen with regard to some who did nothing worthy of special note, and others who acted so continuously in the face of the world that when their course was run, there was little left for the world to learn about them. It may therefore be taken for granted that a desire exists to hear something authentic about the life of a man who has produced works which are universally known, but which bear little or no indication of the private history and the personal qualities of the author. This was in a marked degree the case with Lord Macaulay. His two famous contemporaries in English literature have, consciously or unconsciously, told their own story in their books. Those who could see between the lines in David Copperfield were aware that they had before them a delightful autobiography, and all who knew how to read Thackeray could trace him in his novels through every stage in his course, on from the day when, as a little boy, consigned to the care of English relatives and schoolmasters, he left his mother on the steps of the landing place at Calcutta. The dates and names were wanting, but the man was there, while the most ardent admirers of Macaulay will admit that a minute study of his literary productions left them, as far as any but an intellectual knowledge of the writer himself was concerned, very much as it found them. A consummate master of his craft, he turned out works which bore the unmistakable marks of the artificer's hand, but which did not reflect his features. It would be almost as hard to compose a picture of the author from the history, the essays, and the lays as to evolve an idea of Shakespeare from Henry V and Measure for Measure. But besides being a man of letters, Lord Macaulay was a statesman, a jurist, and a brilliant ornament of a society. At a time when to shine in society was a distinction which a man of eminence and ability might justly value. In these several capacities, it will be said he was known well and known widely. But, in the first place, as these pages will show, there was one side of his life, to him, at any rate, the most important, of which even the persons with whom he mixed most freely and confidentially, in London drawing rooms, in the Indian council chamber, and in the lobbies and on the benches of the House of Commons, were only in part aware. And in the next place, those who have seen his features and heard his voice are few already and become yearly fewer, while, by a rare fate in literary annals, the number of those who read his books is still rapidly increasing. For everyone who sat with him in private company or at the transaction of public business, for every 10 who have listened to his oratory in Parliament or from the hustings, there must be tens of thousands whose interest in history and literature he has awakened and informed by his pen, and who would gladly know what manner of man it was that has done them so great a service. To gratify that most legitimate wish is the duty of those who have the means at their command. His lifelike image is indelibly impressed upon their minds, for how could it be otherwise with any who had enjoyed so close relations with such a man? Although the skill which can reproduce that image before the general eye may well be wanting, but his own letters will supply the deficiencies of the biographer. Never did anyone leave behind him more copious materials for enabling others to put together a narrative which might be the history, nor not indeed of his times, but of the man himself. For in the first place, he so soon showed promise of being one who would give those among whom his early years were past reason to be proud, and still more certain assurance that he would never afford them cause for shame, that what he wrote was preserved with a care very seldom bestowed on childish compositions, and the value set upon his letters by those with whom he corresponded naturally enough increased as years went on. And in the next place, he was by nature so incapable of affectation or concealment that he could not write otherwise than as he felt, and to one person at least could never refrain from writing all that he felt, so that we may read in his letters, as in a clear mirror, his opinions and inclinations, his hopes and affections at every succeeding period of his existence. Such letters could never have been submitted to an editor not connected with both correspondents by the strongest ties, and even one who stands in that position must often be sorely puzzled as to what he has the heart to publish and the right to withhold.